Hey everybody, Mike Miller, Herald Times, Colin Sandy Graham,
Yep.
coming to you live from Columbia, Missouri, Faro Field here, home of the Missouri Tigers, the number 18, for maybe a few more hours, the number 18 Missouri Tigers, because what we just witnessed, Andy, was...
There's probably a whole lot of folks out there paraphrasing the immortal Vin Scully by saying, "I can't believe what I just saw." But I think Indiana made it believers out of a lot of folks today, including maybe themselves. That was a heck of a program win, 31-27 for Indiana today. And there were a lot of reasons why it happened. Missouri had 47 straight games
without a turnover.
Creating turnovers.
Yeah, creating turnovers.
It was the longest such streak in the nation. Indiana had no turnovers. Indiana had really admirable balance on offense. I mean, it was, 241 rushing and 252 passing. But this, in large measure, is a credit to the Indiana defense, which played with real aggression today.
From the very beginning.
Indiana was aggressive as a team, but the defense was in attack mode from the get-go. From the very first snap. I mean, Missouri's first snap, Darius Latham was in the backfield about the same time Murphy got the handoff. It resulted in a 3-yard loss, and a couple of plays later, Murphy got munched again, and it was the first of 7 Missouri punts. And not only that, I thought the defense showed some maturity in the second half when called upon. Mark Murphy makes a big interception. The offense fails to capitalize, misses a field goal. Defense doesn't care. They come out and get another stop. Missouri does a fake punt.
Yeah.
and keeps the drive alive.
Yep.
Defense doesn't care. They make another stop. Make them punt again. That kind of thing had to be really encouraging to Indiana football fans everywhere.
That they gave up a couple big plays as they're wont to do, but they would not be broken, and I think that's encouraging. I mean, it's just kind of remarkable. Where was this defense a week ago? This is such a departure of what we saw.
Well, it was just a lot more aggressive. It was a lot more aggressive. I think they all got the message, and I think Kevin Wilson sent the message too. He said, "Listen, we're gonna be more aggressive." Talking to the players after the game, they said all weight the coaches were really, emphasizing that theme. And so, look, I mean, it's a high-risk, high-reward approach. And Indiana got burned sometimes today, but that's just going to happen.
You got to live with that. You got to live with
it. And, Missouri ended up, if Indiana got burned, Missouri ended up getting fried. I said that because they got tired. Indiana's attacking all the time. Indiana's making Matty Mock run for his life a lot of the time. Indiana had 11 tackles for loss today, and they had a ton of other plays where, Missouri was scrambling and Missouri was harried and hurried trying to make a play. And once again, from a perspective of an Indiana fan, boy, that was refreshing to watch.
It really was, Andy. I mean, you've seen far more than I have of this kind of Indiana football, but the talk all week, it seemed like it might just be another instance of just a lot of talk. They were all talking about, we got to be more aggressive. Yeah, we got to fly around. Yeah, we got to actually, not worry about the negative consequences of gambling and making plays a little bit. But that's actually what they did. They came out and they were just flying around. They tried making plays. We sort of talked about the Tim Bennett approach of just go out there and try to make a play. They made plays. I mean,
well, this is the show me state, right? That's what we're in. And I mentioned that in my column on Saturday before the game. And boy, they showed me and showed everybody, as I say in my column for Sunday. But I think that that was something that I think the other thing that they've said. I mean, they've talked about being more aggressive.
Yeah.
And then they backed up that talk today.
Yeah.
They've also talked about the fact that they actually like the potential and the capacity of this team. I mean, Kevin Wilson's made that very clear. He said, listen, I know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I see it in practice. I'm hoping to see it on Saturdays more often. I'm hoping to see what I see in practice transferred to Saturdays.
Yes.
Today, I think we saw some of that. We saw what he's been talking about.
Nate Sudfeld said that pretty much that same thing. He said, this is what we see in practice. This is the defense that we go up against every single day. This is what we see, and now you're seeing it too.
Yep.
This is what we've been going up against all summer, all spring. I mean, now you're finally seeing, everything that they've been talking about as far as this is a better team, this is a more athletic, more talented defense, and we saw it today.
We did, and there were 24 different Hoosiers that made tackles. A lot of them are really young guys.
How many tackles for loss?
11.
11.
And 12 different guys were involved in the 11 tackles for loss. And I think that, look, I mean, teaching kids how to play, aggressively, you're going to give up some plays. I mean, you're going to you're going to have some bad things happen. But that's, I think, how kids want to play. That's how they need to play. and they learn how to play by doing exactly what they did today.
And I think you can live with giving up those big plays because you're showing that you're trying. I mean, for so long, as long as I've been watching this Indiana program, it's just a defense that is so flat, plays on its heels, and just gets burned because they're just not aggressive, they're not active.
Or if they blitz, it doesn't get home.
Sure.
Today they got home a lot.
They did.
And even though
they missed a few times,
even though they only had 2 sacks, and they missed some sacks they could have had.
Yeah.
Matty Mount's very elusive, and he's a quality quarterback. He's a really good player. But they made him hurry throws. I think he was 0 for 7 to start the second half.
Yep.
And most of that was because there were people in his face. And a really good sign for Indiana was a lot of times they didn't have to blitz to get that.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting it from the 3-down linemen. Those guys were getting a push. Darius Latham on the very first play, and that continued. They were getting defensive linemen that were really getting a push right up the middle. And once again, that didn't always create a sack, but it created a hurried throw or something like that that's turned into an effective defensive play. And so, look, Missouri still got nearly 500 yards. The yardage came out very evenly today.
A lot of things were even.
Both teams had, it was a close game. Mm-hmm. It was a great game, actually. If you didn't have a rooting interest, we're just watching.
It was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch.
From a football point of view, I don't think either team was ahead by more than 1 score. That's
right.
And Indiana had a chance early in the second half when it missed a field goal. And then Nate Sudfeld had Shane Wynn open for a touchdown and overthrew it.
He wasn't very good on the deep balls today. He was just not crisp. He overthrew a lot. There were a couple decisions he made that just weren't.
Yeah, but he managed the game.
He did a very good job.
That phrase gets overused, but it's really true. He played well. Indiana made 0 turnovers. The quarterback has a lot to do with that. I think there were sometimes some of the incompletions. Once again, you'd see a young receiver, and you're not sure if the route is quite what Nate expected it to be.
Yeah, there were a couple of those.
One time I saw a kid stumble out of a route. The ball was probably where it needed to be, but the receiver wasn't there yet. So that that's going to happen. And I think last week, look, he was asked to manage the Indiana State game. He did.
Yep.
He was asked to manage this game, make no turnovers, don't give Missouri anything cheap, and then try to be effective when you can be. The time he was really asked to try to win the game was Bowling Green.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best games I've seen Sudfeld play since he's gotten here. Mm-hmm. So I think Sudfeld's fine. I have no issues there, or at least not very many. He can get better like anybody else. He's got things he needs to work on, but he's a quality quarterback. And speaking of quality, I'm beginning to think maybe Tevin Coleman should be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I was talking to a Heisman.
He needs to win his conference player of the week thing first. I think he might do that this week.
And I'm speaking kind of through my hat here because he doesn't have the kind of national notoriety that's going to create that. I'm just talking about the quality player he is. Well, I'm just saying, he may not be a Heisman candidate, but he ought to be because of the quality of player that he is.
Well, he's going to show up on a lot of highlight programs on Sunday morning just from that 44-yard screen pass he took to the doorstep. That was the play of the game.
That's a great thing for the Indiana program right now. This is against the number 18 ranked team, which means it's going to be on the highlight reel for all the national sports shows, college football game day, all that stuff, ESPN, Fox Sports, everything, all the national shows. They're going to show Indiana highlights versus Missouri.
Yep.
They're going to show Indiana beating Missouri. They're going to show a Big Ten team taking down an SEC team on the road.
Talk about the signature win for the Big Ten so far, too. Who thought it would be Indiana?
And there were some other good wins for the league today. Iowa came back on the road to beat Pitt.
It was a good win at Pitt.
For example, Maryland had a really nice win at Syracuse.
They're coming to Bloomington next weekend.
Maryland's coming to Bloomington next weekend for the Big Ten opener for both sides. It's a huge game. Yeah. That was going to be a huge game. When we looked at the schedule, depending upon how things go, but almost no matter how things go in the other games, that game's going to be huge.
You hate to say make or break that early in the year, but that's absolutely huge because it really sort of determines where they go from there into Big Ten play because you have North Texas after that, and then you get
which scored 77 points.
Right, that's not going to be a walkover, I don't think. But you get into a stretch there early into the middle of Big Ten play, end of October, early November, where you get 3 or 4 games in a row. I think it's Michigan, Penn State, and Rutgers. That's a big stretch, and if you can have the Maryland win, North Texas, now you have Missouri, then you're
then you got a chance. But the Maryland game's it's pivotal. It's not make or break. We learned today that nothing's make or break. One game isn't make or break.
Right.
Bowling Green, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the season's over." A lot of people are going to look at this game and say, "Wow, Indiana's maybe arrived." Well. Look, let's see what happens from here on out. What happened today, though, should help Indiana play with more confidence. They went and took down a good team on the road in front of a big crowd and did it the way did it in a very solid way, did it largely with defense. And that has to really help the confidence of this team moving forward. And one thing I've always felt, this Indiana team's got some talent on it, and if it starts playing with confidence, I mean, what did Brian Moore talk about when he first got here as defensive coordinator, that the defense needed more than anything else?
Confidence.
So if they are able to take this and play with more confidence, could be a good thing for Indiana fans.
It's a big step forward. Things just got interesting, Andy.
They sure did.
See you guys.